Hey there, it's GerbSims, and today I'm going to build a recycling plant. This build is really funny. It doesn't really function in any form, and it's not very recycling friendly. I actually wanted to build something that was an industrial lot, almost like a sorting plant that doesn't do a very good job. So I didn't want to make it too state of the art. I didn't want to make it too green. As you can see, the background here in Evergreen Harbor is still pretty yucky, so I wanted to match that vibe. Lately, my builds have just been, how can I make this gross? And honestly, I'm okay with that. So starting with the exterior, I built just kind of a box, and I had this idea of having some piping through the top. Maybe that's where the trash comes down. It was a thing. I tried. I really liked having these yellow debug pieces from Eco Lifestyle, so I included those, and I like having a touch of green in a really poisonous lot, so I wanted to make a little cheeky little garden for you. But so I placed these yellow, I don't know, platforms. I wanted there to be space to walk above the plant, and I did end up changing it, but it allowed me the framework that I wanted. So once I had those placed and I knew that I wanted the truck to be able to pull up, I used these, I sized down some of the train, what are those called? The things from the train. I sized them down and moved them so that there could be kind of a platform to unload garbage or whatever you want to call it from the truck, and then put it into a big container. So I sized down a window and I created a ramp using a long roof, and then I was going to use tool later to make it look like the truck had backed up on it and was unloading. So I end up changing a lot of things in this build later on, but they're all really inspired by different objects from Debug that I've had so much fun with lately. The trash that came with Eco Lifestyle it's beautiful trash. It's a very beautiful trash that we got. So, I also really, really like the big smokestacks that are from Debug, so I really wanted to include those, and you'll see those on top of the build. One of the things that was really difficult for me was building this platform. I shortened it a lot, but it took me probably an hour to figure out this configuration, which is funny because it's really a simple configuration. And the thing that probably took me the most amount of time was this conveyor belt, and I wanted it to be a sorting conveyor belt where you could put something on one side and then it would push to the other side and end up at some type of machinery. And I did not know how I wanted to do that. This was the first iteration of the conveyor belt portion. It didn't work because why did I do this to myself? Why did I want it to turn like that? That ended up being my Achilles heel during this build. But I started with those file boxes, and then I ended up finding these vampire pedestals, and I can't really say that they look like a conveyor belt, but they offered the right height and thickness. So I ended up going with them, and I raised them up from the basement. So there is a basement in this build. This corner alone took me an hour because, again, I did this to myself and had no idea going in how I was going to make this look like a moving conveyor belt, let alone a turning one. But I ended up just scrapping what I had, and I found that little bookshelf counter table. It's the only thing in the game that's shaped this way, and once I found it, once I had that brain blast, it was off to the races. And then of course I just went through and changed everything I had already worked on, because what is a build if you don't do it 8 times in a row? This build was done so many different times, and it just kind of became something different than what I started with, and I'm really happy with how it ended up. This front area of the conveyor belt is where someone could come in and drop off their garbage and put it on the conveyor belt, and I guess people would be sorting from there. I had those yellow platforms, and they were nice, but it was kind of confusing, and it also wasn't actually usable for the Sims, so I decided to nix those, even though they were so much inspiration for this lot, and we thank them and we throw them away. And I ended up making some office and a little control panel up there. So I'm including some industrial controls and some electronic parts. Who's to say what they do? Maybe they make the conveyor belt go zoom. I don't know. I'm not in charge. I just do the building, and the rest of it is up to you. There is a functional recycling appliance and a water reclamation appliance, and those are really the only two usable things on the lot. There are a lot of garbages that you could woohoo or nap in, and I did make a porta potty, which you'll see right here. I wish that we had a porta potty. We need a 1x1 porta potty in the game, and I think we need to start a petition. So you heard it here first, petition for a porta potty. But I did make one with the Get Famous walls, and I ended up using a Get Together roof on it later. But you can't, because the walls, you can't put them down when you collapse some of the walls. Your sim would have to just go to the bathroom themselves intuitively, so make sure you have free will turned on. And here I am just using Tool to turn the truck so that it looks like it backed up onto the ramp, and making sure that the angles are correct. I wanted to use Tool a lot more in this build, but a lot of the things that I thought that I could use Tool on, I actually couldn't, because they didn't have the right, they didn't have enough axes. So I ended up just letting them be. I'm practicing allowing things to be imperfect. I don't know what that means. I'm sizing down that window all the way so that I can just use the open space. And I added kind of like a wooden frame around that area. And then I just wanted to put, the little creature comforts of the little things that let you know I'm in a garbage dump and it's comfortable. So some nice little placards, some pictures, some chairs, just the things that make it homey. This office, I just imagine, I guess this is a functional part of the build. You could just come and study here or plan to take over the world. This was something I really wish that I could have used Tool on. I wanted to turn these around and upside down so that they didn't look so uniform, but they didn't have the right amount of axes, so I just kind of spun them around a little bit, but the goal was to have a lot of those piled up outside. But I think the most fun thing to watch in this build was me just piling trash on the conveyor belt. It took actually like the least amount of time in the build because I could just go to the trash debug and put everything in, and everything was pretty much done from there. The build kind of, after I got through my builder's block and pushed through, it really started to put itself together at the end, because it doesn't need to be too filled. It's almost a warehouse, a factory. It's not supposed to be filled to the brim with stuff, which is not something that I'm used to. I'm used to really filling up builds. So this was a good way to push myself in a different direction. Ugh, this palette. I would buy Eagle Lifestyle just to have this palette from Debug. It's beautiful. It's absolutely lovely. So yeah, I maneuvered these around a little bit differently, which made it just a little bit nicer. And then I used these awesome Debug rows of trash on the conveyor belt, and that just made it kind of look more like a conveyor belt. I hope that it shows. I hope that the intention of the build shows. It's just, I love building non-functioning lots in the game. It's just fun. It makes me try something different because I'm using parts of the game that aren't really meant to be used in that way. So you'll see just a lot more garbage and trash. I didn't use a single recycling bag. And the final product is right here. It's a really simple build. It's fun. I hope you'll put it in your world and send me some pictures. And here's some screenshots and videos. It looks really nice, and it looks good with the bad environment, the smog in Evergreen Harbor. And so I hope that you enjoy the little things that I put in, the little pieces of Strangerville and the little pieces of Get to Work. I think they all kind of came together nicely in the end, and this build was fun to do. I churned it out in a few hours. It took longer than it should have, but that's a me problem, not a Sims problem. If you enjoyed this build in this video, give it a like, make sure you subscribe, and turn on those alerts. You can find me on all of the social medias by searching GerbSims, and if you just haven't had enough, you can join me on Twitch. I stream Sims 3 times a week, and I stream mental health and social justice conversations once a week, and I would love to see you there. I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you again for watching this video. And until next time, live your best life and be your best self. Bye.